This is a door inside my workshop. But this isn't something I imagined. I took this photo of Galaxy's Edge, standing right there in front of that door with my brothers. I thought, I could build this. So, I did. Here's the real thing. This is Black Spire Outpost at Galaxy's Edge. The full cliff face, the rocky peaks, the vegetation. Obviously, I'm not building the entire park. I'm building this. This door, this cave entrance, this specific corner of Batuu, because this is exactly where the Mandalorian walked around the corner when I met him with my brothers, my wife, and my kids. But here's what most people would do. They'd start with the foam and figure out the door later. I did the opposite. The door is the centerpiece of this whole build, so I designed it first, built it first, and constructed everything else around it. Let me show you why. This is where we start. I designed every panel of this door myself in software and cut from MDF using my X-Tool S1 diode laser cutter and engraver. MDF is super durable and cuts extremely easily, cut to the exact dimensions of what I saw at Galaxy's Edge. There were a few pieces I couldn't cut flat, those I 3D printed. All of the MDF and FDM pieces get glued together with some of this Titebond wood glue. Once it's assembled, I do the same thing you do with any real prop. Prime, base coat, then weather it down until it looks like it's been sitting on Batuu for hundreds of years. Skip this step and the paint job will be blotchy. I've seen it happen. One coat of stain and this door is paint ready. I use Rust-Oleum slate gray and then a quick Zenithal highlight to mimic sunlight from above. Up next is weathering, one of the most fun parts of painting. The approach here was really simple. I just did some dry brushing of black and brown in all the areas that I think would be affected by weather, like at the base of the door and below my vents. Batuu hardware looks beat up. Nothing is clean and nothing is new. So I leaned into that and kept in mind that a lot of this kind of weathering would happen from the top down. I'm making the laser cut design files and 3D print files for this door available on my Patreon. Link is in the description. If you want to build your own version of this, everything you need is there. Here's the thing about building the door first. It means every single piece of foam I cut has to match it. And that's harder than it sounds. The door is done now, and so is my use of technology like lasers and 3D printers. From here on out, I'll be using handmade measures. Time to build the world around this door. Volcanic rock, ancient, layers built up over thousands of years. I have to fake all of that with flat sheets of foam in a weekend. It happens in stages. First, I get the basic shape, then I layer more foam on top. Then I carve into it. Let me show you how that works. Before I do any carving though, I need to figure out the orientation of the door and the main walls. Once that's determined, it's time to start cutting. I cut by hand, then I mask up and use my hot wire table to ensure nice 90-degree angles on the bottoms of my foam, so it will sit flush on the base. I break out my Hot Wire Foam Factory 4-in-1 handheld set, specifically the hot knife, to help me create imprecise beveled edges on the back wall. Then I use one of the other handheld hot wire tools. I'm working with several large pieces of 2-inch thick XPS foam. The hot wire cutter lets me slice through it cleanly and shape the basic layout, where the walls sit, how far the cave recesses back, how tall the rock face stands. At this point, I feel comfortable using low temperature hot glue to bond the back wall to the side walls. This will give me a quick bond that won't melt the foam. And now it's time to play foam Tetris. Using my reference photo as my guide, I start gluing foam scrap pieces in place to build up the facing of my rock walls. Every piece I glue on is a choice. Too uniform and it reads as fake. Too random and it reads as chaotic. I'm looking at the reference photo constantly and asking myself if this rock face is building depth the way the real one does. I was even able to repurpose some of the oddly shaped offcuts from my earlier hot wire cuts on the rock overhang area. And I built up the top portion of the rock wall using some scraps from earlier and other projects. The shape is right, but right now this looks like pink foam, not Batuu. What happens next is what changes everything. Here's the thing about Batuu's rock. It's not uniform. No two faces are the same angle. Chunks jutting out, deep crevices between them, hundreds of individual rock surfaces catching the light differently. That's what makes it feel real, and that's exactly what I have to replicate. My initial plan for carving and rock texture was to use a utility knife like I've done many times before. But then I saw this video by my friend Boylai Hobby Time and decided to use a rotary tool for this Star Wars-esque rock terrain. Using a mask, goggles, a shop vac, and the Ryobi rotary tool, I tore into the foam, literally. Foam dust is not something you want in your lungs. Shop vac runs the entire time. This is a non-negotiable. There's no exact science to this part. You're looking at the reference photo, you're looking at your build, and you're making judgment calls about where the rock needs more depth, more shadow, and more interest. This actually took a long time on something this size. It was one of the most time-intensive parts of the project, but it's hard to argue with the results. This is the step that makes people stop and wonder if it's real rock. The texture is jagged now, but it still looks like foam. The caveat though is that there are a lot of loose foam fibers left over. The tool that changes that is one of the most dangerous tools I own when paired with foam, and also one of the most satisfying to watch. My heat gun. And even though I already have protective gear on, it's still a good idea to use a fan and an open window to get the toxic fumes that come with melting foam out of my space. I was also careful to go slowly over the foam at the lowest setting on my heat gun to prevent the foam from charring or lighting on fire. I gave it some time to breathe and then began using lightweight wall spackle to fill some of the gaps from the earlier round of foam Tetris. Doing this with a gloved finger works well in the uneven terrain areas. Next up, I need to tackle the sidewall texture, which looks like man-made, or I guess Batuu citizen-made rock cut walls. All I did here is use an X-Acto knife and a ruler to carve in lines in rows of various thicknesses so they would not be uniform. And then I used a clay sculpting tool to indent all of them and a rock and balled up tinfoil combo to texture them. And there's actually another step I almost skipped on this piece that was one of the keys to the diorama. But first, I need to make this cave. Earlier, I mentioned my encounter with the Mandalorian and Grogu. When my family and I first saw them, they emerged from this cave-like area adjacent to the large blast doors. Mando actually came out, took photos with us, talked to my kids, and then went straight back into the cave, even though there was a crowd waiting for him. It turns out his voice changer was busted, so he had to head back behind the outpost walls to get it fixed. We saw him again later and his voice issue had been resolved, at which point he talked to us a bit more and wished my kids safe travels in their journeys, which they thought was super cool. But anyway, this cave is important because it's basically his portal from the backstage area of Galaxy's Edge and his adoring public. So I had to include it here. Next, I need to do something that doesn't appear in the real-life Galaxy's Edge outpost. Magnetize the diorama rock piece to the base, using these Ampro ceramic magnets I got on Amazon. After I pick my magnet spots, I use this brass tube to indent the foam. Then I use a knife to cut along the side of the diorama base and carve out the area for the magnet to sit in. After that, I use a little hot glue and pop my magnets into the base, dot side up. Then I put the magnets on top of those and make an impression at the bottom of the rock wall piece, and repeat the installation process I just showed in that piece. And when that's done, I have a really strong hold. If you look closely at the rock cut walls in this picture, you'll see some jagged detailing on them, almost like they were damaged. I use a utility knife and some tinfoil to carve and texture those details into my rock cut side walls. And then I texture the entire base with the tinfoil and a real rock from my backyard. The ground in the real life setting is just a concrete surface, so this will work well to replicate that. For this next part, I'm going to stray away from the inspirational scene a bit. You'll notice that there isn't any rocks or sand at where the base meets the cut rock walls, but I thought it would be cool to add some detail there. I had these leftover plaster rocks that had been sitting around in my workshop for months, maybe even years. They're the perfect scatter terrain for this, so I glued them down strategically around the base and then glued them in on some of the unsightly large gaps in the top area of the diorama. When they were set, I put down some Mod Podge on all the areas I wanted to apply dirt detail to. Used a sifter and some dirt from my backyard to sprinkle the smallest grains all over the diorama base. This is pretty messy, but in order to really lock this all in place, I spritz on some isopropyl alcohol and then use a dropper to soak the dirt areas with watered down Mod Podge. When this dries, it's going to dry almost like a concrete. Then I took the diorama outside and did the same treatment on some of the rock wall areas and let everything dry in the sunlight for a few hours. Before mixing up some primer consisting only of acrylic paint and Mod Podge and then spreading across the entire base and all of the exposed areas of the rock wall piece. Making sure to get all the nooks and crannies covered because I'm going to spray paint this. The propellant and spray paint eats away at raw foam, but covering it with a Mod Podge and paint barrier protects it from destruction. After that dried, I took everything outside and base coated both pieces with Rust-Oleum Slate Gray. When that first layer of spray paint cured, I combined the dioramas and applied a Zenithal highlight using a lighter tone of gray from above. This sets the stage for some really nice highlights and shadows in my final paint job. Every build has a moment where it either becomes what you imagined or it doesn't. The painting stage is where you find out. Let's check the reference images to see what colors I need to integrate into this diorama. There are definitely some dark gray, almost black tones in here, as well as some sandstone, whites, yellows, and browns that I need to work in. And I think the easiest way to achieve this paint job is going to be using mostly paint washes that consist of just paint and water. So the first thing I do is douse this with water. I don't have a specific ratio I use, but I want the washes to be pretty watered down, so less paint and much more water. Starting with this yellowish desert sand type mixture I had made a bunch of for a previous project. I used a paintbrush to apply this all over the entire rock face, and because the paint wash was so thin, I did 3 to 4 passes of this color wash. The cool thing about doing this is that some strokes inevitably have more paint on them, so there are variations with how much color gets held onto different areas. Next, I did a white paint wash. For this one, I really made sure that it was extremely watered down. It lightened up the entire piece quite a bit, so I went back with the first color wash afterwards to bring some of those desert tones back. After that, I did a black wash on the 2 rock cut walls, which has a lot darker sediment coming through. Then I took the diorama outside for the sun test. My workshop lighting doesn't always let me see the missed areas or the true color of the piece 100%. Taking this outside helps me make sure that it looks the way I want, and I realized this wasn't the right color. But it was an easy fix. I did a brown wash application all over the rock areas, which gave it that wonderful desert Batuu look I was searching for. When everything dried, I added the door back in and decided to do dry brushing layer over all my rock areas using a mix of Vallejo ivory and Iraqi sand, which brings out the high point detail of the sculpt. I haven't talked much about painting the base yet, but honestly the beauty of the wash process was that a lot of the drippings from painting the rock face found their way to relevant areas of the base, accumulating in my dirt areas. So I really didn't need to do a lot with the base. I did add in several different washes using my dropper bottle and then blotted those up with a paper towel as I went. Okay, I think it's done. This is the photo I took at Galaxy's Edge. Same door, same rock, same corner of Batuu, just a little smaller. I built this for a reason. The trip to Galaxy's Edge, that was a family trip. My wife, my kids, my brothers, it was a great family memory, and I wanted to memorialize it.
Wow, that looks just like Ken on Disney World.
It does. Looks amazing.
Do you remember where this was?
Yeah,
Where was this?
in Disney.
And who did we meet in this spot?
Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, was it fun?
That looks amazing.
Thank you. Worth it.